I used to think grief announced itself loudly. I imagined it as something that slammed into you, sirens, casseroles on the porch, arms around your shoulders, people whispering, "I'm so sorry." I thought grief wore black and demanded attention. I thought it came with permission. But the grief that changed my life arrived quietly. It came in the space where my phone stopped lighting up. I am sitting at my kitchen table in my small house in Ohio. The same house I bought 3 years ago because it felt like a place you'd tease me about. You. A homeowner, who are you? The late afternoon sun leans against the window, warming the chipped mug between my hands. The house is clean in the way it always is, when I don't know what else to do with my feelings. The radio is off, the world feels paused. I am 32 years old, and my best friend is dead. Her name was Lily. People always expect me to say more after that. How, when, why, as if the facts will make it easier to understand. As if knowing the shape of the ending will make the absence feel logical. But the truth is, the hardest part of losing Lily isn't the moment she died. It's everything that came after. It's the realization that no one tells you how to grieve a friend. Not really. Not when she wasn't your sister or your spouse or your parent. Not when she was just your best friend, the person who knew your coffee order, your worst habits, the exact look on your face that meant you were pretending to be fine. Lily was the person who knew me before I learned how to perform adulthood. We met when we were 19. It was freshman year of college, the kind of chaotic, hopeful mess that feels huge at the time and impossibly small in hindsight. I was standing in line at the campus bookstore, arms full of textbooks I couldn't afford, wearing a sweater that still smelled like my mother's laundry detergent. I remember feeling out of place, too quiet, too unsure, too aware of myself. Lily tapped me on the shoulder and said, "You look like you're about to cry or punch someone. Which one is it?" I laughed, a real laugh, the kind that surprises you. "Crying," I said. "Cool," she replied. "Me too. Want to grab coffee and emotionally spiral together." That was Lily. She was fearless in the way people are when they're honest about their mess. She had dark hair she was always pushing out of her face, and a voice that carried across rooms. She spoke like she trusted the world to meet her halfway. We got coffee, then we got dinner. Then we sat on the floor of my dorm room until 2 in the morning, talking about everything and nothing, our families, our fears, the lives we thought we'd have. By the end of the night, I knew something without having words for it yet. This person was going to matter. Lily and I grew up together in the way that only young adulthood allows. We watched each other become ourselves. Piece by piece, we survived bad boyfriends, worse haircuts, unpaid internships, and the slow, uncomfortable realization that the world didn't work the way we'd been promised. She was there when I cried in bathroom stalls. I was there when she called me at 3 in the morning because she was afraid of becoming her mother. We learned how to cook together, mostly by failing. We learned how to apologize. We learned how to sit in silence without needing to fill it. People talk about romantic soulmates, but no one prepares you for the intensity of a platonic one. Lily knew the version of me I never had to explain. After college, life did what it always does. It scattered us. She moved to Chicago. I stayed in Ohio. We promised not to become the kind of friends who only commented on each other's social media posts. And we didn't. We talked constantly, voice notes, long texts, late-night calls where one of us would say, "Are you awake?" as if we didn't already know the answer. She was there when I got my first real job and called her crying because I felt like an imposter. She told me, "You don't have to be confident. You just have to keep showing up." When I bought this house, she flew in for the weekend just to sit on the floor with me, eating takeout and imagining where my life would go. She said, "I can see you here. You're going to build something good." I didn't know how much I would cling to that sentence later. Lily died on a Tuesday. That detail feels important, though I don't know why. Tuesdays are supposed to be ordinary. They aren't dramatic, they don't feel like endings. She died suddenly. People hate that word, suddenly, but it's the only honest one. One moment she was texting me about a show we were both watching, complaining about a character's terrible choices. The next moment there was silence. I found out through a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. I remember standing in my kitchen, staring at the refrigerator magnet, shaped like a sunflower, that Lily had brought me from a roadside shop. I remember the voice on the other end, saying her name in a way that felt too careful, too gentle. I remember saying, "No," over and over, like it was a spell that could undo reality. After that, time stopped behaving normally. Grief does that. It bends minutes into hours and turns days into blurs. It makes the ordinary unbearable. I would reach for my phone without thinking, ready to tell Lily something funny, something stupid, something small, and then remember. Again and again, people showed up in the ways they knew how. They sent flowers, they brought food. They hugged me and said, "At least you have so many memories." I know they meant well, but no one said, "I know you lost the person who knew you best." Because society doesn't quite know where to place that kind of loss. At the funeral, I stood near the back, feeling like an imposter in my own grief. Family members sat in the front rows, and rightly so. They had lost a daughter, a sister, a niece. Their grief was acknowledged, validated, expected. Mine felt invisible. I cried silently, hands clenched, because I didn't want to take up space that wasn't mine. But Lily had always been my space. After the funeral, the world expected me to return to normal. Work asked when I'd be back. Friends checked in less frequently. Life moved forward with a cruel efficiency. But my grief didn't follow the rules. It showed up in grocery stores when I passed Lily's favorite snacks. It hit me in the car when a song we loved came on. It settled into my bones at night, heavy and unrelenting. What surprised me most was how lonely it felt. Not alone, lonely. There is a difference. I had people, I had support, but I had lost the person I talked to about everyone else. The person I processed life with. The person who made the world feel less sharp. People told me, "You'll make new friends." As if friendship were a role that could simply be refilled. But Lily wasn't replaceable. She wasn't a position, she was a history. Months passed. I learned how to live with the absence. The way you learn to live with a limp. I functioned, I laughed when appropriate. I went to work, I paid bills, I smiled at strangers. But inside, something was missing, and no one knew how to talk about it. I felt guilty for how much it hurt. Was I allowed to be this devastated over a friend? I asked myself that question more times than I can count. There were moments I minimized my own pain, telling myself others had it worse. There were moments I felt ashamed for needing support. Lily would have hated that. She believed in naming things honestly. So one night, sitting right here at this table, I said it out loud. My best friend died. The words felt heavy, but also true. Naming my grief didn't make it disappear, but it gave it shape. It gave me permission to stop pretending I was fine. I started talking about Lily more. I told stories, I laughed at her jokes, even when the laughter turned into tears. I let myself miss her without apologizing for it. Grief didn't shrink, but it softened. It became something I carried, instead of something that crushed me. I still think about the future we won't have, the weddings she won't attend, the kids she won't meet, the conversations that ended too soon. And some days, that still breaks me. But I've also learned something unexpected. Loving someone deeply changes you forever. Lily shaped the way I see the world. She taught me how to be brave, how to be honest, how to show up even when I was afraid. Her voice still lives in my head, reminding me to speak up, to take up space, to trust myself. No one replaced her, and no one ever will. But that doesn't mean the love ended. It means it transformed. Now, when I sit in this quiet house, I don't just feel loss, I feel gratitude. I feel the echo of a friendship that mattered enough to leave this kind of mark. And maybe that's the part no one talks about. That grief is the proof that something extraordinary existed. Tonight, as the sun fades and my house settles into its familiar creaks, I place my phone face down on the table and breathe through the ache that still lives in my chest, knowing it will always be there. Softened but permanent, like a scar I no longer hide. My best friend is gone, and no one replaced her. Not because there is something missing in my life now, but because what we had was complete, irreplaceable, and real. And if this is the price of loving someone who knew my soul so completely, then it is a price I will continue to pay, quietly, willingly, for the rest of my life.